me said, hey, Nikki, you're the only YouTuber I regularly watch who's reviewing this show. Listen, I jumped back in. Just because of everything that's happening now. I'm only here because I want to be caught up for the reunion. And so I'm finally caught up. Let's talk about it. How are we doing? Apple juice. How are we doing? I actually just finished watching Tom's interview with Howie Mandel. I had no idea that it was like over an hour. Yikes. So sorry that I had to switch the time because I did not know that it was going to be that long. I was like watching clips on TikTok and I thought that it was going to be like 30 minutes. Why are these podcast interviews over an hour? They don't need to be that long. They do not need to be that long. And especially because there was nothing new that we learned. Hey, So Sav. Hey, IA. IA said, hey, Nikki, back again and so happy. Oh, thank you for being here, my love. How are you all doing? All right, so while everybody's coming in the room, I'm just going to get started because we have two things to talk about. And then, hold on. Where are my notes? Oh, here we go. Oh, my goodness. I just realized it's a new episode of Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip. I'm going to watch that when I get off of here. I forgot that it's Thursday. My week is so jumbled. Oh, we didn't do it. I forgot to do our intro. While you're coming in the room, let's do the intro. Come on in the room. Whoa, come on in the room. Yeah, we got so much to talk about. So won't you come on in the room? Everybody, hey, come on in the room. Whoa, come on in the room. Yeah, we got so much to talk about. So won't you come on in the Come on. I feel like the lot that we have to talk about is the fact that at the end of the day, Ariana didn't deserve any of this. And it's just so unfair how she is not being centered in any of this drama. Like everybody and their mama is being centered but Ariana. But before we get into the interview, I want to first just quickly break down some things that I'm noticing while watching Pump Rules leading up to all of this mess. Like just how people are already reacting to Tom and Raquel's relationship that's like starting to form. I feel like people are picking it up. Maybe that's why so many people are talking about it, because I feel like people felt it but did not know how to voice it, because who would think that Tom Sandoval of all people would do something like that to Ariana, especially with the way their relationship started. So I wanted to talk about that first, and then I wanted to get into the interview that he did with Howie Mandel. Thank you, So Steph. Thank you. Hey, Irene. Irene said, hey, Nikki, you look so good. Thank you. Hey, Spency. Spency said, hi, Nikki.Star fam. Nikki, you look stunning. Oh, my God. What did I do today? Thank you. I guess I just arrested. I finally rested. Hey, Simply Simone. Yes, you are here for the live. Hey, Ren. Ren said, hey, Nikki, you look beautiful. The skin is skinny and your hair is giving luster. Thank you. You guys are so sweet. All right, let's get into Vanderpump Rules. I don't even know what episode this is. All I know is that I'm watching to get into, the mess that we are about to experience. I think this is yesterday's episode. So I'll fix it in the Oh, it's episode 10. Episode 10 of season 10. That's what it is. So let's get into it. The first thing that I want to first talk about, I want to get Katie and Schwartz out of the way, because I'm somebody who has been watching Vanderpump Rules from the beginning, right? So full disclosure, going into this, I'm not a fan of Katie, right? I felt like Katie's behavior has been poor from the beginning of this show, and I was always kind of more on the side, not on the side of Tom, but I felt bad for him in a lot of ways, like everybody on this show does, because he just acts so childish. I think I am seeing a different side of him, or able to see a different side of him, because of the fact that I've watched this show from the beginning and I see no absolute growth in Schwartz, right? I feel like he is still like this 17-year-old kid, and he has like the essence of like a YouTube pranker, right? Like somebody who has a YouTube, like a young kid who has a YouTube channel where he does pranks all the time. I feel like that's where he is. And although I'm not a fan of Katie, I can absolutely sympathize with her in this moment, because all she did was exercise a boundary with him if they were going to remain friendly, which they both agreed, right? And her only boundary was, please don't date anyone within our circle. He asked the same of her as well, and she abided by that. He did not. He did not. And not only did he enter into a physical relationship just by kissing or whatever with Raquel, he did it in a space where everybody would see it and it would get back to her. And I feel like her feelings are extremely valid. I think she has every right to, jump half the bridal party, because why are you cheering? And everybody takes Tom's side all of the time. And I can absolutely see that now, because when Katie is not around that awful clique of friends that she has, the witches of WeHo, now the Karens of WeHo, when she's not around them, there is a different side of her. But because they've always been a package deal, she's always just been awful. But without them, I can see a different side, and I can see that this man just torments her. I remember in last week's episode, she was just like, he loves me, he don't like me. I was married to someone who loved me, but was not in love with me and did not like me. And I can absolutely see that now, because all she did was ask you to, abide by the boundaries that you both set. And Tom didn't do that. Tom didn't do that. He decided to make out with Raquel, right? Also known as Rachel. But now we know that that relationship on the show was just a decoy, because by this time, Sandoval and Raquel had already, started their, side chick relationship or whatever. So now knowing that, right? Knowing that not only did Schwartz not continue to exercise the boundary that him and Katie both agreed to, he then decided to not exercise that boundary as in a way to protect his friend who was cheating on, let's be real, his common law wife. So it's like all of his actions just get worse, and worse, right? That still don't mean that I'm not going to that restaurant. I told you right now that they might be horrible men, but they know how to put a restaurant together. I love Tom and Sandy's. I'm going. Maybe some more stuff has to come out for me to leave there, for me to start going to that restaurant. But as of right now, Ariana, I'm sorry. I love Tom and Sandy's. I love them cheese balls. I can't get away from them. Anyway, that's all I want to say about Tom and Katie, because I just feel like I don't think that Katie is being unreasonable by saying, hey, don't make out with, people in our group, or don't date anybody in our group after being freshly divorced and y'all are still friendly. My thing is, if they're not friendly, okay, you both can be reckless. But if you are trying to continue to exercise a good, healthy relationship with her after being divorced, then you have to stick by the rules. You have to continue to go by the rules and boundaries that you guys set. But the thing about it is, Tom has never done that, right? He's never protected her. He's never put her first. He's never valued her. He's never cared for her. He's never abided by the boundaries that she had set. So I don't know why she would think that he would go by those boundaries outside of marriage, outside of their relationship, that he didn't abide by when they were together. Unfortunately, she will continue to give him chances. I don't think that she'll ever be out of this cycle. And I think, if anything, for her to grow and not be stuck in this mom position with this man, she's just going to have to cut him off completely. But Tom is going to continue to act like a child and continue to get the treatment, the motherly treatment from her that she gives him, because she does. Like, even after he humiliated her, he's going to ask her to shave his arms. Right. And then he sits down at the table with her, Bubba, and all that stuff. That's another thing. Stop letting your ex-husband call you names, sweet baby names that she was calling you when y'all were in a relationship. He's not your husband anymore. Like, you guys are not in a relationship. So Bubba got to die. Right. He can call you ma'am. That's what he needs to call you. When he addresses you, ma'am, queen, something, but not Bubba. Like, that's not what you're doing. Miss K. That's what he needs to do. Like, you guys are not together, so you don't need to continue to allow him to have that kind of access to you. But they've been stuck in this cycle since they was kids. This is what I always say. Y'all don't need to be getting in relationships and these long-term relationships at 20 freaking 2. Look at this woman trying to live out her life now to 36. She about to bring in, next episode, she about to bring in, no shade, her funny looking boyfriend that's 25 years old, because she's trying to get back what she thinks she lost by being with this man all her youth. Stop linking up in your early 20s. None of them are worth it at that age. Anyway, let's move on to Lala and Sheena. I am on Sheena's side with this whole situation with Lala. It's hella petty, but let's be real. Lala came to Mexico to attend Sheena's wedding and Sheena's wedding event. What you're not going to do is come on my wedding trip and hang with my hater who came to Mexico to troll me. That's the only reason why Katie is there, to troll Sheena, right? So Sheena having an issue with Lala not attending events is a big deal. So for Lala to be like, your wedding is your problem. It's not everybody's problem. It's not everybody's issue. Other people have other things going on. If you have other things going on, then get the hell out of Mexico. Why are you on her wedding trip if you're not going to attend her wedding events? Now, Lala is not in the bridal party, so she don't got to be at everything. But the fact that you are not attending things that you said that you would attend because you're going to hang with her biggest hater who came to Mexico to troll her, and you're sitting there acting weird that she has a problem with it, is weird to me. It's weird to me. Now, since we're talking about Lala, I want to say this. Lala has accurately read Raquel for fifth several episodes throughout the season, especially on this episode. And although everything she said to Raquel, also known as Rachel, is correct, I will be honest with you, it's hard to hear her say these things to Raquel as if she's not the same person. Now, Lala, we got to be real. When we met you, right? When we met you, your introduction to us was that you was hoeing around LA for Range Rovers. Remember that? Remember, Randall had a whole wife and kid, and you came into that relationship, and that's the reason why the Karens of WeHo didn't like you, because they was calling you a homewrecker. I feel like everybody on this show gets amnesia when somebody else on the cast does something worse than what they did, right? So now it's like, Rachel is just, first of all, at this point, she don't even know that Rachel has slept with Sandoval, right? She's upset that Rachel has kissed Swartz. So her whole thing is she's sitting down and she's saying, and although she was saying everything that she was saying to Rachel was very accurate, where it's like she finds value in men and that is going to be her downfall. Absolutely. But I just feel like, as somebody who has watched this show from the beginning, that comment and the way you talked to her and the wisdom you was giving her and the reads that you was reading down on her, I just felt like it would be more digestible from someone who is not acting brand new after we have seen her complete storyline being about home wrecking. It's just very weird. It's just very weird for her to sit there and try to drag any woman on this show. And I'm just like, remember how we met you? And let's be real, we was living for Lala because she was hoeing and she owned it, right? She was hoeing and she owned it. She's just like, I do sexual favors for Range Rovers. And we was like, all right, girl, get it. You know, hello, feminism. So like, there wasn't a big deal with that. But now she has done this complete 180. I think it's because she's a mom now. And like, she's just expecting everybody to forget this. And I'm like, this is mighty rich coming from you. Although the read was accurate, it's mighty rich coming from Lala. Since we're talking about Lala, let's move on to James, who I feel like if he was not white and a man, he would be on the Real Housewives of Atlanta and he would eat, because James reads like an OG housewife from the Real Housewives of Atlanta. I feel like he can sit up there with Kenya and Nene. He is so great at what he does. And the thing that's even more great about how he reads in those confessionals is that he is not produced. That is him. The stuff that he says is off the dome. That's why he has the most confessionals out of anybody on that show. He sits in that chair and he reads everybody down without taking a breath, and he is always on point. He's the best thing that ever happened to that show. Mr. Not About the Pasta can't leave. He can't leave Pump Rules because who's going to be able to read like that? Not Lala. He ate everybody up on this show. And I was sitting there in these confessionals, listening to these confessionals like, oh my God, James, you're right. But yikes. Also, James is not over Raquel, right? And his new girlfriend, who I feel like Michael Jackson might be her dad. And this is not a read, right? I feel like the OG Michael Jackson could be her father. Like OG could be her father, right? Because she has a very similar resemblance to, is it Rebe Jackson? She looks like them Jacksons. If she's not Michael Jackson's long lost daughter, she in that Jackson family somewhere. Anyway, his girlfriend, Lil Rebe Jackson, she's sitting there listening to him get Swartz together over his ex-fiance, while she was also sitting next to him as he was getting his ex-fiance together for making out with Schwartz, right? So I'm like, if you're over her and this is the happiest you've ever been, why do you have so much emotion about her? Why are about Raquel? Why are you so hurt by this woman being with somebody else when you were in another relationship, the happiest you've ever been? Why do you care so much? I think he cares so much because I don't think he's over her. And I don't know how the relationship fell apart. I just came back into the show on season 10, right? So I don't know how it fell apart, but from the looks of it, I don't feel like he wanted it to end. Who knows? Did Rachel end the relationship or did James end the relationship? Because he's acting like she ended it. Because why are you so upset? And then for little Rebe Jackson, why are you sitting there entertaining this? I honestly feel like little Rebe Jackson is with James because she just wants to be on the Vanderpump Rules, and it makes sense. She's really young and she's in LA. If you were in your early 20s and you're in LA and you're not from here, we all know why you're here, right? So being on this reality TV show for her makes sense. So I don't think that there's much that James could do for her to leave him. I think if he did not have a show attached to him, I don't think that she would be interested in him at all. But you know what, sis, get your coins, stack that resume the best way you can and live your best life. It's LA. Scamming for the entertainment industry is what you do. Now, let's get into this last part and then we'll get into the Sandoval interview. I hate that now I'm watching this show with like a magnifying glass, right? Because there's a part where Tom, Ariana, and Rachel, also known as Raquel, are all together at Sheena's party, right? And Sandoval keeps on calling Raquel's name to the point where Ariana's like, stop calling her name. Like, why are you calling her name all the time? It's really annoying. But he could not stop screaming her name. Then there's a part where Ariana takes her glass, she gets up and she walks away. And as she's walking away, you see Tom's hand like go down behind Raquel's back. And then you see Raquel jump up and grab her butt. And I'm like, did you just... I'm like, did you just smack her butt while the cameras are watching? And I think that he was drunk, so his mind really wasn't there. But if you watched his interview with Howie Mandel, he was already sleeping with her at that point. So I guess that the liquor was just flowing and he just lost his bearings and was absolutely acting like that was his woman. Did you guys notice that? Because as soon as Ariana got up and left, he smacked her behind, and Raquel was just like saying stop or whatever, but she was laughing, and then he was just like, all right, let's go out to the pool. Ariana, if you did not jump him at this reunion, girl, absolutely not. Now, let's get into this interview. Oh, Sheena's wedding was cute. I will say this. Sheena showed maturity because, I'm an OG watcher. So I watched the first wedding, a nightmare. She was all over the place, extremely superficial. You can show that she has matured a bit. So, congrats to her. Happy to see her growth. I don't know the situation with Brock and his kids, but girl, if you're not watching them babies, if you're not taking care of them babies, stay woke. Anyway, let's get to the Sandoval interview. I have notes. Also, did you guys know that Raquel was 28 years old? You're too old to be this reckless. You're too old to be this reckless. Let's start off. Speaking of Raquel being too old, so was Howie Mandel. Howie, you were too old to be involved in this. You are too old to be involved in this mess. And watching the interview, it seemed like you and your daughter should have switched positions. I know it was your show, but you don't know anything about Vanderpump Rules. Your daughter knew everything. She was the one who was trying to ask the right questions, and you were spending this hour and a half or so just petting Tom Sandoval, right? It looked like you went into this interview with an agenda, and it felt like the agenda was to make Tom look better and to garner sympathy for him. And that makes sense because the man that works on your show is really good friends with Tom. So it appeared as if from watching this interview that he gave you his side, right? And he's a really good friend to you. So you took what your really good friend said to you about Tom's situation, you digested that, and then you sat here and did this interview because for you to say the way that you were talking about Ariana was that she was just somebody, just a bump in the road for Tom. And you didn't speak of her with any kind of sympathy. All of the sympathy was for Tom, who, in my opinion, made this situation get worse for him. Like, I don't think he did himself any favors. And I cannot believe his agent, manager, and publicist allowed him to do this interview. This is not a good look. It's not a good look. If he were my client in my publicity studio, whatever. If I was looking over his career, if he were to do this, I would have asked for the questions that would be asked of him, and we would have prepared the questions and rehearsed everything before he even got to the Howie Mandel show. Like, there's no way I would let him sit up there and just free ball this interview because it did not help his situation. He continued to make himself the victim. He brought up Ariana's depression that she has talked about extensively on the show, and was also saying that one of the reasons why he did not leave her is because, one, she would not let him. She forced him to stay in the relationship, and she threatened suicide, and she also threatened to ruin and self-sabotage her own life. So that is the reason why he continued to stay in the relationship with her, because he said that he did not want to be with her for a long time. He was saying that they were not having sex, and that was an issue. Ariana didn't want to go to things that he wanted to go to. Basically blaming Ariana for his infidelity, right? I will say this. He was just like, everybody is involved in my relationship, and I feel like everybody has an opinion of it. And this is the thing about that. He's right. Everybody does have an opinion, and everybody probably shouldn't have an opinion. But when you put your life and your relationship on TV for people to have an opinion about, it's very hard to get them out of it, right? It's very hard to be like, oh, I want you to know all of this, but this part I'm going to take back after I've took you on every journey. It is nobody's right to say, you tell me this or you tell me that about your relationship. But you can't cuss people out for asking after you've told them everything, right? You tell me everything, but you don't tell me this part. You're not finishing the story. I want to know everything now. You done pulled me into the story for a decade. Now you're telling me to back out. I'm going to feel some kind of way. So I do agree that there are a lot of opinions about what is happening in his real life, and they probably shouldn't be there, but you can't take people out once you put them in. You can, but it's going to be very, very hard to do. I think this was just another misstep in his thinking. And I will say, from watching this, um, I always thought, because, I know how reality TV is produced, I always thought that he was putting on some kind of character. Him and Swartz, this, I have been able to see them completely differently, right? Because I always thought that everybody on this show was putting on some form of character. Watching him in this interview, I realized that who we have seen on this show is actually really him. Actually, really him. I will not say that he is not smart, right? I will say, watching this interview, it appeared to me as if the lights were on, but nobody has been home for a very long time. There was a lot of emptiness happening, and a lot of things that he was saying about this relationship, and speaking about Ariana, a lot of things that I just could not believe that a 40-plus-year-old man was saying at his big age. It was very alarming that he was able to go through life this long and have this kind of mindset. Very, very alarming, to the point where if you are in damage, right? If you are at a place where you could lose a lot because of speculations about what you have done, this was not the way to clear it up and to garner sympathy and to bring people back who you once lost, that you want to support what you're doing. Because speaking about a woman, basically your common law wife, who you have been in a relationship with for over 10 years at this point, speaking about her in such a negative way, while also talking about the mental health issues that she deals with, in my opinion, just did not help his situation. Because to say that she basically threatened suicide if you left her, I don't know how, after you doing what you have done, how that was going to help you. After we have watched her struggle with depression on this show, I don't know how you thought that would help you in any kind of way. I don't know how you saying that because you weren't having, the amount of sex that you wanted, and because she was not willing to go to all these events with you, that you then making this connection with Raquel and entering into this relationship was justified. Now, listen, you grown, right? Everybody involved in this is grown. If you're not feeling a woman and you want to break up with a woman, you do what you need to do. But to say, oh, me and Raquel had this magnetic moment and it just happened and everything felt good and I didn't want to be in the relationship anymore. Where you went wrong was staying in a relationship with someone you didn't want to be in a relationship with anymore. Dragging this person along in this relationship, and you're only dragging them along because you want to protect your brand. Because he kept on saying that. Every time when Howie was like, well, why didn't you just leave the relationship? Well, we have a really great brand. We were coming out with a book. It was everything that was going on in your life career-wise was the reason you decided to stay in your relationship. Only at the end, when you realize the branding stuff, the business stuff, the look of your relationship, when you realize that part wasn't working, only then that you then say, oh, she wouldn't leave me, or she threatened to take her life, or she threatened to self-sabotage herself. All of that stuff came in later, when I feel like you knew that the brand stuff wasn't working. Because you can't then say, oh, because we look good on paper, or because we had a book coming out, I didn't want to end my relationship. That is extremely diabolical to me. That you and this friend of hers would just be hopping around bed to bed to bed to bed in front of this lady's face, acting like y'all love and care about her. But the only reason why you're keeping this up is not because you'll be so heartbroken to leave the relationship, or you'll be so heartbroken to hurt her in any kind of way because you love and you care for her so much. That didn't come up. What did come up was we had a book coming out, and I didn't want that to overtake what we were doing. So throughout this interview, you prioritized yourself and then tried to make Ariana seem like this deranged, mentally unstable woman. How did you think this was going to help you? I was just like, I went into this not thinking this poorly of you, and now I'm just like, this is not a good look. You guys were not married, right? Yes, you have spent a decade of your life together, but if you didn't want to be in a relationship, you can just leave. I do not think that it's ever an excuse to be like, oh, well, it was very hard to leave. How is it hard to leave, but not hard to cheat? Because you also have to think about it. It's not just emotions that are being involved in this, right? You're also playing with somebody else's health because you are entering someone that Ariana is not aware of, and then you are still in an intimate relationship with her. Now you're playing fast and loose with not just your health, but somebody else's. Like, it's just irresponsible on so many accounts. And then to say that the only reason why you didn't do it is because of your brand and how you look. And remember when I said on my last Vanderpump Live, when I said that the reason this man did not end a relationship with Ariana is because of how good she makes him look. And here he is. We built this brand together, not this relationship. We built this brand together. At some point, the brand, the show, how the audience sees them became number one in this relationship and not the actual relationship. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I think that this was a bad look for him. I think it was a bad look for Howie Mandel because now, this certain sect of the fan base hates him. And he did not have all this hate before. But you did this interview with this guy. You did not know anything about the situation. And you essentially allowed him to victimize himself while villainizing Ariana, the one person in this whole scenario who didn't do anything but just be betrayed. So nobody helped each other. Like, he didn't help Howie, and Howie didn't help Sandoval. They both just made it worse for themselves, and it's unfortunate. I don't know if Ariana will ever speak, but I mean, if any time, it would be now, girl, because she got some hitters. She has some hitters. The only thing that I agreed with him on is that, and I'll stand by this, I think, because he said this, he said the thing that hurt him the most was that everybody, that was supposed to be their friends, are monetizing this relationship for their podcast, like acting like they're checking in on Ariana when really it's just Ariana when really it's just they're getting content for their podcast or for whatever they're doing. And I agree. I agree. I feel like out of everybody in this whole situation, Lala is eating. Lala is eating. Her entire Instagram and every podcast she goes on, it's all talking about Ariana. Sheena as well. Jackson, Brittany now have a watch along on Peacock that we don't need. Like, I know that Peacock is another sect of Bravo. It's not Bravo. It's something else, right? But I will say this, just because it's on Peacock don't mean we forgot why Jackson and Brittany are no longer on the show. Like, we did not forget why their contract was not renewed. Let's not play dumb here. Let's not play dumb. We can keep them going. But I do agree with him in that aspect. I do agree. I don't think that, I'll give Sheena a pass, right? But I don't think that everybody cares so much about Ariana that they have to talk to every and anybody who would ask a question, or even if you're not asking, they're posting and talking about it. I don't think that all those people really care. I think that this is a way for them to stay booked and busy, because look at everybody, resurfacing on Watch What Happens Live. Look at everybody doing all these interviews and taking all these podcasts and, getting all these advertisements now and building up their Instagram profiles, because unfortunately, a very bad day, a very bad moment, a very bad season of life for Ariana is good content for them. So I hope that she's also assessing who is her friend and who isn't. I really, really do, because I just think that it's very weird to me that all of these people who care so much for her can't shut up. She hasn't said a word. Y'all have said everything. It's a little weird to me. What do you guys think? Let's talk about it. Pink Petal said, "Child, I would have told Lala not to come to the wedding." I could not believe that she was acting like Sheena was being unreasonable. I would have been told her not to come. I would have been like, you know what? You and Katie can just hang out. Thank you. You don't need to come. It's okay. It's okay. You don't need to be here. I could not believe that she was acting like Sheena was being unreasonable. Yasmin said, I don't even think they are that involved with Swartz and Sandy's. I don't either. I think they're the face of Swartz and Sandy's, just like they're the face of Tom. So that's another reason why I'm like, I'm fine. I'm fine with going to the restaurant. They're not that, they're probably about 10%, if that. I hope so too, Pink Petals. I hope she does find someone nice. I feel like, just like I told you guys in my Escape live, I think that she has a Tamika Scott moment. I think that this is going to be a really good, season for her to have like a comeback and just really do whatever she wants to do. Because even Tom mentioned that she's booked and busy. Like, because of this, she's gotten a lot of opportunities, and I hope that she can actually really, flip this moment to her favor and really make some good coins, really get the exposure that she needs, and find loves, because she deserves it. I do want to say this. I just thought about it. This demon, Tom said that he had already broken up with Ariana by the time she saw the video of Raquel performing a sexual act on his phone for him. Because he said that he was getting on stage. He was like, we weren't together, but she saw people looking at us, so she kissed me, and then I got on stage, and while I was performing, my phone fell out of my pocket, and I guess she was going through my phone and she saw the Raquel thing, and she got really angry at me. But he was like, we were broken up by then, right? And he says, while we were driving there, she did something really, really weird. And I'm just like, before I get to what he said, I'm like, you are not talking like a guy who feels really bad for what he did. Because I felt like watching this interview that he felt like he was justified for this affair. Like, people do it all the time, especially the affairee does it all the time and says, well, this person wasn't serving me in this way. They never take accountability. But the things that he was saying about her was just so nasty. I could not believe that he thought that this would be a good look. But he says that while they were driving, Ariana says to him, oh, we should talk about you fertilizing my eggs and us freezing them so that we could, possibly have a child. And I believe that she probably said that, right? I believe that she probably said that when she felt like he was drifting away from her. Because he even said it. He was like, oh, she could feel that I was moving away from her. I'm like, yeah, because you were. You were in a whole nother relationship at that time. By the time Ariana could feel that you were drifting away from her, you were knocking Raquel's sonic rings out of her head in your home that y'all was building together. Speaking of home, he's still staying in a home with her. I'm like, why aren't you staying at Raquel's home? He's like, oh, me and Raquel had to take a break because of all this heat. A break? Y'all still together? Anyway, so I believe that Ariana said that, right? I believe that she said that because she was probably grasping at straws. And to share something like that as a way to defend yourself against her, nasty work, because she has been very open and honest about not wanting to have children because of her past trauma experiences. And for her to say that to him was her trying to salvage what little bit of this relationship that she thought she still had left, because at this point she didn't know that somebody else was in the picture. So to share that with us as a way to like dig at her, I'm like, how were you that gone where you thought that that was something that would work in your favor if you told us? That was just so heartbreaking that he would share that. So heartbreaking. She deserves so much more. I hope that she does find someone nice. I really, really do. Tracy said, when the sandwich shop opens, go there too. I definitely will. He doesn't. He doesn't. He does not like her. We talk about sports. He doesn't like her. She mentioned it. She mentioned it. Tracy said dating in a friend group is weird to me. Listen, you could do whatever you want, right? But it's weird behavior. It's weirdo behavior. L. Atkinson said, I never understood why Katie and Tom even got married. Their chemistry screamed more friends to me. Yeah, they definitely were giving friends, or they were giving brother and sister who hated each other vibes. But I never saw them, have a healthy relationship on this show. Emma. Emma said, terms of endearment are for people who have a good relationship. Very true. Very, very true. Yasmin said Tom would have to call me Miss Catherine if I was Katie. As he should. As he should. Hey, Catherine, how are you? IA says Katie needs to treat Tom the same way Mel treats Martell. Absolutely. Drewski said, hey, girl, this is one of the shows I don't follow, so I'm here for the vibes. Well, thank you for being here. L. Atkinson said Lala and Raquel are two sides of the same coin, which is so crazy to me how she's trying to diminish this woman. And then she's talking about all of the women that her baby daddy cheated on her with. And I'm like, do you know we watched this show from the beginning? It's just so crazy to me. It's so crazy to me that Lala is here. It's so crazy to me. OMG. Emma also said, I wonder if Lala was projecting some of her misdirected rage at Raquel. She's too holier than thou, and I actually like Lala. Same. Remember, I used to go up for her when she first got on the show, and I think because she was just sick of being the outsider, she decided to join the Karens of WeHo, and she hasn't been likable ever since. Tracy said, honestly, I feel like I tolerate Lala only because of what Raquel has done. True. IA says Lala is one of the most annoying people on reality TV. She did the same thing Rachel did. Also, remember, Katie and them disliked her when she started. Lala is just happy to be a part of the popular crew. Absolutely. I never saw her as being a follower, right? She was crying all the time because the ladies did not like her. And Lisa even told her, she was like, they're jealous of you. You're a pretty hot woman, and you are, you have men falling at your feet, and they do not like that because they don't have that. Don't get upset, take it on the chin and thrive. And instead, she joined the Karens of WeHo. And now look at her. Ciao. Yasmin said, I think her clocking Raquel will go over better if she was just like, I see you for who you are, because at one point, period, that would absolutely work. L. Atkinson said, James' new girlfriend is clearly just there for the check. She seems to not really like him. I think so too. And I'd be irritated with him because his actions clearly shows that he still loves Raquel. Yep. He absolutely is. Nobody can read like him. I'm telling you, I would love to see him, Kenya, and Nene in a read-off. I don't know who would win. I don't know who would win. IA said James on Atlanta would be wild. I can't stop laughing. I'm telling you, he has it in him. They sure do. Some people said the English and the Irish have such a way with banter. You know who also got away? The Scottish. I did not know that them Scots could read like that. The way I found out was when the Queen died. The Queen of England, when she died, all them Scottish people were reading down. Reading down. Emma said she must be launching a new reality TV career because this relationship is toxic. Your best friend is obsessed with your boyfriend. Yeah, she probably is. I think she's absolutely here for the exposure that the show could give her. She's surrounded by people who are older than her, who have been able to purchase a $3 million home off of this show. So I think we all know why she's here, and she's just buying the time. You know what I mean? She's already on the show. She's already getting confessionals. The work is done. Yasmin said, could Brock and Sheena not afford a private beach? Like, why was her wedding in the middle of everything with pedestrians everywhere? That was weird to me too, that nothing was like private. I'm like, you can't rent a space in Mexico? Where's the money? I don't understand. I do not understand. Okay, so it was Raquel who broke off the relationship. Yikes. Because was she in a relationship at that time, child? Who knows? Because I don't believe nothing Sandoval says. Nothing. Emma S. said, I couldn't help but wonder what Shay was thinking of Sheena's wedding. I know he tuned in, probably, but he had some issues. He had some issues. That wasn't a relationship that should have went to marriage anyway. Miss Brown Sugar said, OMG, can't wait to watch this episode. Sound like mess on mess. It was a lot. It was a lot. Yasmin said that interview was low-key triggery. I was appalled at the things he was saying and how he wouldn't let his daughter really ask questions. And it was upsetting because his daughter knew. She knew everything. And I think at one point she was going to challenge Tom, but Howie wouldn't allow it. He just took over everything. And I'm like, I think the best part of that interview for me was when Tom asked Howie to shave off his mustache, knowing that Howie was like a big germaphobe. He was so uncomfortable doing that. And Tom was oblivious because he wanted the attention. He absolutely loved the attention. And I'm just like, Tom, I can't believe it. I've never seen him like this. I'm so disappointed. I love the Toms. I love the Toms. They were very disappointing this season. And I feel like if this is how he's handling things now, after the reunion was filmed, I don't know. I don't think that he's going to get any better. Because it's like, even after the reunion, this is still where you're at. After listening to everything and hearing everybody out, this is where you're at, that you're the victim. Wow. Wow. Emma said his publisher and agent gave him the equivalent of Nene's horrendous straw. Ridiculous. That was a mess. She still thinks that was one of her best looks. My God, today. Yasmin said, I don't believe he was being held hostage in a relationship. Me either. Ariana was publicly embarrassed, and she didn't attempt suicide or do anything he said that she would do. The only thing I believe is the fertilized egg story. That's the only thing I believe. I think everything else, I think there's probably some truth in some things that he said, but I think he probably over-exaggerated the truth for sympathy. I've never seen him so diabolical. This is insane. This is insane. The fact that Raquel is the only one that was punched, because he said that Ariana punched him, and I'm just like, if she did, good for her. She should have punched her harder because I don't see no marks. Emma said, just own your infidelity and move on with Raquel. You look foolish trying to justify your infidelity. This is the thing. If you are not happy in your relationship, nobody is saying stay, right? All we're saying is, why start something else? Why lay your hat in another home while still being in this one? Lying to this woman, laying with this woman, building with this woman, collecting a check with this woman. That's what everybody is saying. Nobody's telling you to stay in a relationship that you are not happy in. What everybody is essentially saying is that what you did to this woman who didn't deserve it is awful. And you're saying, well, what I did was justified because she was having some mental health issues and I didn't want to, stay in that situation, but I couldn't leave because she was mentally unstable. You think that make you look good? And the only time mental health was brought up, not when Tom was talking about Ariana saying that she was going to commit suicide if he left her. Not when Tom was talking about how Ariana wasn't able to get out of bed. Totally overlooking the fact that her dog died. Remember that? He totally overlooked that. That was never brought up. Mental health was brought up when Howie was defending him from the fan base. I was like, oh, we're talking about mental health with him, not Ariana, the woman who's been taken through the ringer. The woman who everybody is talking about the worst time in her life and monetizing off of it. Oh, no, it's him. The mental health issue was him. That's what we got to give the sympathy. This is insane to me. This is insane to me. I can't believe it. Miss Brown Sugar said, SanDoval was so disgustingly low. She would quit the show, and that was his real issue. But he came up with 11 other issues. Can I just say this? When he was talking about because Howie asked him if he would quit the show. And the first thing he said when Howie was like, after everything is happening, would you, go back to the show? And the first thing he said was, well, this whole thing took the views, up and through the roof. You thinking about views right now? You wasted this woman's time, precious time, crushed her, and you're thinking about views. Because right before he got cut off, he was going to say, well, the views are through the roof. So it'd be crazy for me not to come back. But Howie cut him off before he could finish it. He was like, I haven't signed my contract. So you know what that means. He asking for more money. Listen, which he should, because he's going to be the main story. He's going to be the main story. Him and Ariana should ask for a big check, because at the end of the day, nobody else is going to care about anybody else's storyline. So they both, business-wise, they both should hold out until Bravo pays, because I don't see Vanderpump being successful without Tom and Ariana on the show at this point. We got to be real. James will absolutely be able to hold it down, but right now, everybody's talking about Tom and Ariana. So Bravo need to pay them whatever they want. And whatever you give Sandoval, give Ariana triple. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. Miss Brown Sugar said he found so many ways to avoid the question. Did you actually talk to Ariana about these feelings? No. Never had the conversation, but was banging the lights out of Jigglypuff's tether. But you're not talking to the woman that you've been in a relationship with for 10 years? Okay. And this whole interview was to promote his band. Yasmin said he gave so many contradictions in that interview. All the times he said he tried to break up with her, he never said, hey, it's really over. I'm banging the friend living in our guest. She was living in their guest room? Oh my, this is evil. This is evil. The only thing worse in this situation is the fact that he really thinks that he makes great music, because the way him and Howie, the way they were promoting this band, I've only heard him sing on Vanderpump Rules. And I thought that was like a joke, right? Remember when he was in the studio and he was singing and he was trying to play that instrument, but he couldn't play it? I thought that he was in on a joke, that this was terrible, right? But he is really serious about this band. Howie was promoting it throughout the entire interview, promoting their show dates. And because he was really serious, I was just like, well, let me check out this band, because I never like heard the band, never heard them. And so I was just like, well, let me go check out his cover band, because obviously this is really serious and, gotta be good. When I saw clips of their performance, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. I'm like, people are paying to see. You are touring. Nothing was in tune. Nothing was in tune. It seemed like they were playing their instruments underwater. Like, the whole performance was insane. Insane. But he's dead serious about this. Tom, what's going on? What is going on? JL, what's up? Said, if you were not able to leave because she threatened to unalive herself, your infidelity showed how little you care about your partner's life and well-being. Which is why I don't believe none of it. Some people said if he didn't cheat, then I could believe the excuse. But cheating changes everything. He was in a whole relationship by the time she found out about anything. And he's still, I'm telling you, he's waiting. Him and Raquel are waiting for the fan base to move on to something else, right? He's probably waiting for the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills to come out. Because he said, oh, me and Raquel are on a break. He didn't say, "Oh, we're no longer in a relationship. That we realized that was wrong, and we can't continue that. That was not a healthy time for either of us." He's saying we're on a break. So that means you plan on fixing this and getting back into this situation. And I think they're not really on the break. I think that's what he's saying, right? I think that's what he's saying until everything cools down. And then I feel like he's going to pop out with a baby and a wife. I feel like him and Raquel are going to throw up some pictures of them in Vegas, and she's going to be holding her baby bump. And that's when the fan base is going to turn. That's when the fan base is going to turn. That's when the evangelical Vanderpump Rules fans are going to be like, well, he always said that he wanted the family and Ariana wouldn't give it to him. That's when y'all all going to switch up. And then all of a sudden, everybody's going to be Team Sandoval and Raquel and be like, oh, well, I do kind of ship them. They do look cute together. Oh, the baby is so adorable. Forgetting all that mess, forgetting all that home wrecking that happened for this to come to pass. Because I'll be real with you, I don't think anybody would be upset with him if he just said, we just grew apart and we couldn't continue the relationship like this anymore. Also, we just both wanted different things. I remember when I was reviewing this show back in the day, I was like, Tom, get out of this relationship with Ariana because y'all don't want the same thing. You think that being with her is going to make her want to get married and have kids. And Ariana is saying, I don't want to be married and I don't want to have kids. So why are you continuing in this relationship with this woman? And I did not understand two people who wanted the exact opposite in life, why they continued to stay together until I saw this interview and he said she's good for the brand. People see our relationship as something to throw money at. So that's what the relationship became. The relationship became a brand. So it's hard to get out of when the relationship is your livelihood. It's not that hard though if you're an actual adult and you just don't want to do something anymore. You can say no. Why lead somebody on and then make them the bad guy when you are somebody who was being deceiving to them? It just doesn't look right. Just like relationships break up all the time. That is okay. But to blame the person you were in a relationship with who was blindsided by your affair is not okay. And I don't think he gets that. Nobody is mad at this man for wanting to be married and wanting to have a family. And he also said something in his interview. He said, when I turned 40, I looked back at my life and I realized I didn't have the things that I wanted. And I was like, what is going on with my life? And I tell you guys all the time, when a man is approaching 40 or when he hits 40, he switches up real quick. And any woman that is around him at that time is the one he will take for the next journey of his life. I'm telling you, it's always somebody you're just like, he with her? Yeah, because she was around. She was around. I promise you, them two are going to end up married and with a kid. Because Raquel, come on, let's be real. Let's be real. Empty. It's empty, right? So men like Sandoval like women like Raquel because she'll morph into him. She'll let him lead. Ariana, you can't lead her. Well, Ariana, you're a partner. This is a partnership. With Raquel, you can lead. Just as long as you pay for everything and just let her sit cute and pretty, right? Just be the pageant girl, right? That is more suitable for what he desires. Somebody young and dumb and who will let him lead. He can't lead a household with Ariana. He can't do whatever he want with her. It got to be a conversation because it's a partnership. It's equality. A lot of men who are like Sandoval can't stay in a relationship with a woman like Ariana or won't even approach a relationship with a woman like Ariana. So we got a Raquel. That's where we're at. Unfortunately. We get some newer comments. Some people said if he was so concerned about her self-harming this way of leaving her wouldn't have helped. He wasn't concerned. He was throwing that out because he knew that that's something that the men that he is speaking to would sympathize with. Emma S. said, with your podcast, huh? Miss Brown Sugar said, we did not forget, and we don't ever want to see or hear Jason and Brittany ever again. Listen, Peacock is trying to make fetch happen. Emma S. said, you could have broken up with Ariana. That would have been the decent thing to do, not to cheat behind her back. Absolutely. Give Me Shelter said, the way James becomes so undone when Rachel's in a room is pure jealousy and longing for the one that got away. I used to think James, that girl who got away was Lala, but it's actually Rachel. Yeah, because this is the thing. Lala would sleep with him, right? But she wouldn't be in a relationship with him. James can't afford Lala. James can't afford Lala. GP313 said, Howie's daughter and that phone ringing during Tom's fake deep monologue took me out. I was just like, what is this? I'm going to be very honest with you. I expected a different podcast. I really did, because Howie Mandel has been in the business for a very long time. This podcast was ghetto. It was so ghetto. Like, the daughter looked like she had just woke up and came to set, like in sweats. It's a lot of movement going on in the background. She got her phone out, ringing. It was just so unprofessional, which is why it's not that I don't think that people who are not journalists should have podcasts, but I feel like people who are not journalists should leave the interviewing to actual journalists, because this right here, this whole interview was just, I needed a Wendy Williams. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say Oprah, she would never stoop down to these peasant levels, but we needed somebody who knows what questions to ask and how to get the information that the audience want, because that's what a journalist does, right? A journalist goes in and gets the information that their audience is tuning into them to get, right? When you just don't know what you're doing, it just becomes such a cacophony of foolishness, and then you end up looking like you're trying to make a safe space for this awful person. It happens all the time. That's why Howie is fighting for his life on Instagram with the Vanderpump Rules fan base. Poor thing. Leave the interviewing up to people who actually do this, because this was like, I think his podcast is a lot better, because when I was watching this, I didn't turn the podcast off, so I went into another video with him and Jimmy Kimmel, and I thought that was a lot better, right? When he is just having a good time with his comic friends, that is more of his element. I think he stuck his toe in this mess trying to appease a friend of his that works on the show, that works on his podcast with him. But other than that, I was just like, yeah, I don't think this is your wheelhouse. Buddy. Blue Jay said the way he is describing her mental health is being akin to someone who is emotionally abusive and a manipulator. He absolutely was gaslighting, not someone who could be falling apart because her life is falling apart. Yep. Could you imagine? I feel like every woman is looking at this situation and being like, how is she able to get up every day? Because a guy that you have been with, a man that you are in love with and have given 10 years of your life to, starts not just having sex, but a physical and an emotional relationship with someone you considered a friend, who I just found out is sleeping in your guest bedroom. Somebody who cried on your shoulder when her relationship was falling apart. Somebody who you essentially mothered. And he is not only telling you that he is in a relationship with her, he's also saying he wants to be in that relationship over the relationship with you. 10 years of your life gone to this idiot. I will say, Ariana, when you started dating him, I was actually shocked, because I just don't know what in the hell you and Tom had in common. That relationship never made sense to me. I just could not imagine her being with a guy that was so dense. Like, she's on her Instagram talking about Black Lives Matter, and he's on his Instagram, perming his eyebrows. Like, y'all not in the same space. Y'all not in the same space. Sometimes a misdirection is a misdirection is God's blessing. IA said, unfortunately, Rachel will be in the same position as Ariana very soon. Oh yeah, but she'll have a baby by now. She'll be in the same position with a whole baby though. She'll be in a whole situation with another baby. All them kids. Because how you get them is how you lose them. So Steph said, if I'm in a scandal on reality TV, I wouldn't consider Howie Mandel to do an interview with. I think he did it because he's friends with a producer on a Howie Mandel show, and he knew that he could get special treatment and favor over there. That's all it was, and that's what the interview was. Tracy said, yes, Nikki. Raquel was in the guest room, and Ariana caught him coming out of her room at 4 a.m. And he said he was just getting her water. Whew. 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 So Seth said he wouldn't even be in the top 100 platforms I consider. It was just very weird. And also, I was like, Howie Mandel's a podcast? Everybody and their mama got a podcast. I don't know. People have been telling me I should do a podcast. I don't know. What would I be talking about? The stuff I talk about on YouTube? YouTube does have this new podcast platform that they wanted me to like hop on. So I'm gonna play with it a bit and see, because it seems like podcasts are doing well for awful people. And I'm like, you know what? I feel like there needs to be somebody doing podcasts who are nice and who have sense. The podcasters that I be not listening to, but coming across my feed, I'm like, what are you saying? And why are so many people following you? OMG. IA said, oh yeah, Nikki, Rachel was in the guest room. Tom would sneak out to have relations with Rachel. Ariana caught him leaving the room one night. A mess. You know how evil you have to be to do something like that. See, that's the thing with cheating. I think people try to make light of it, right? As if cheating is not like being completely deceitful. That is the evil in cheating, right? Because you are wearing a mask when you're in this relationship with this other person, but then you're leaving to have a relationship with somebody else. So there's so much trust that this person in the relationship has given you that is just lost, because that person then realizes that they were not in a relationship with the same person. So it's like you become this complete imposter, and everything that you are doing is a lie. And if you can lie like that so easily, what else can you do? That's the only thing. I am not like Michelle and Belle said, no thanks to Tom and Rachel, baby or not. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. It's gonna be their rebrand. I am not somebody that has been perfect in relationships. I will give you that. I told you I used to have this toxic thing that I would do. Instead of leaving a relationship, I would make myself awful. Oh my goodness, Geneva. Thank you. Thank you for the Cash App. Geneva said, for you right about the daughters close the world. The daughters close the world. Daughters close. What you talking about? Let me know, Geneva. I'll talk about so much stuff I forgot. But I had this toxic trick that I would do before my brain was fully developed, where I never even thought about cheating, but I just could not leave the relationship. I would much rather be the bad person because I didn't want to hurt someone, right? And so I would just make myself like unlikable. I wouldn't check in. I would give one-word answers. I would make myself very cold, or I would just like essentially be in a relationship, but I would be a ghost of myself. I would be ghosting the relationship while in the relationship. What an awful thing to do to someone, right? What an awful thing to do to someone who has taken out time to form a relationship with me. And instead of giving them the respect and love, right, and honor that I gave them when I was head over heels in love with them, I would just become a shell of myself because I did not want to do the right thing and leave a relationship that no longer suited me because I was too busy thinking about how people will look at me, right? It was always about me. If they were hurt by me leaving that relationship, what would everybody else say? How would everybody else feel about me? It had nothing to do with the other person. Selfish, right? Selfish. But for you to still be in a relationship with somebody like that and just living a whole nother life, that's so completely diabolical that you can step into two different worlds and not even once think, oh, this isn't right. This person didn't deserve that. That's always so crazy to me with the whole cheating thing. And people are just like, oh, you can get over cheating. How can you get over something like that? How can you get over being in a relationship with somebody and not knowing who this person was for the last 6 months, 4 years, or whatever time that they have started a whole nother relationship? Because you have to assess with yourself, the one who was cheated on. I was with somebody I didn't know for 4 years or 6 months, however long they were in a relationship. That's a lot to take in and a lot to get over. And it's always on the woman to do that, which is also so crazy. Blue Jay said, I wonder why he would move so fast. He cheated, but that was a 10-year relationship. Ain't you tired? That is the life-changing thing, one after another. And why would Rachel want to have a baby soon? Well, she's a woman approaching 30. So they're meeting at the right time, right? He's a man that is like in his 40s, right? And he's looking back at his life like, what did I do? She is a woman approaching 30, looking back at her 20s like, oh my goodness, what did I do, girl? But that's what happens. Like 40, I always said that a man's 40 is a woman's 30. So unfortunately, that's the best time for those two people to meet, because they're both going to make drastic and irrational situations based on their age. And drastic and irrational, not situations, decisions based on their age. Emma says they'll reconcile publicly in a few months, but trust, this relationship is ongoing. Oh yeah, they're just done for us. They're on a break for us. They're still in a whole relationship. Will Small says the witches of WeHo were all against Lala up until they were on Randall's private jet. True. They were jealous because they couldn't get that. They were with broke boys who didn't like them. JL said, truth be told, love the Lord. I don't understand how he allows cheaters and immature people to be hella fertile. Okay. That John Mulaney thing, I did not know he had so many fans. Like, everybody was so heartbroken. And I was like, over the skinny comedian? Hey, Audrey. Audrey said Rachel Lindsay would have been better. Oh, she would have been great. She would have been great. Hey, Tony. Tony said, but wait, didn't Ariana get Tom the same way when he was with Kristen? I feel this is the same situation playing over again, just a slight different characters. It's extremely similar. Extremely similar. I do think that there's just more at stake. Even Kristen herself. Kristen did an interview, somebody's podcast, and she was defending Ariana because she was like, "Listen, me and Tom's relationship was messy from the time we got together. We were literally only together because we both needed a place to stay. We should not have been in that relationship. We just needed a place to stay because we were living in West Hollywood and it was really expensive. We were cheating on each other from the time the relationship started, and we were together like 2 or 3 years tops." She was just like, these two have been in a monogamous exclusive relationship for 10 years. They have a house together. They have businesses together. They have a life together. Not the same thing. And that's from Kristen's words, who was in the relationship with Tom. Drewski said, this whole thing is so low down and dirty. She will be better off without both, and hopefully they will be miserable together. You know what? I don't think so. I'm going to tell you right now, that man is happy. That man is in love. And that's the thing that's going to hurt the most. He is happy with the side chick. He's in love with the home wrecker, right? Because in his relationship with Raquel, Tom is the star. Remember we talked about this? That a lot of women are in relationships with men who are their biggest hater, because in the relationship with Tom and Ariana, Ariana is the star. Tom can be the star, the only star, the main star in a relationship with Raquel. He can't do that with Ariana. But he won't talk about that. He won't talk about the little resentment and jealousy he has because everybody loves her and she has no faults. He even said it. He was like, she's been on the show for 10 years and she's had no issues. She's had such a great storyline and a great look. No problems this entire time. And now this one incident happens and she wants to get off the show. I was like, you talking like a hater. You talking like a hater. That man is jealous of her. Oh. My heart goes out to any woman who finds out that they're in a relationship with a man that's jealous of them. Jealous. I'm like, this is how you can so easily cheat on her, because you're jealous. And when you're jealous, that envy comes in and everything under it is just dark. Poor thing. Poor thing. JL said, I wish they stay together as long as possible, though, keeping the evils away from society. Spitzy said, Nikki, you would be perfect for a podcast. I'm thinking about it. Just because if YouTube will do all the work, why not? Why not? Oh my gosh. Maybe. I'll think about it. Give Me Shelter said, Tom and Ariana almost always seem like it was for the cameras, to be honest. Probably. I would never allow it. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. He was. And this is the thing. I will give it to Howie. I think that Howie was doing a favor for a friend because he was so uninformed. I'm like, why are you doing this interview and you know nothing? And then you refer to your daughter who knows everything, but you won't let her speak. Very weird. Very weird. Some people said it's one thing to be a side chick, but a bummy side chick. Spency said, girl, my cousin's trifling self cheated on the mother of his two girls with his cousin-in-law. Oh. Yikes. Just evil. JL, thank you for the super chat. Oh, and this is also for you too, Geneva. Thank you for the cash app. JL said, you keep my spirits up through surgery. Grateful. Girl, what? What's going on, JL? Thank you. I'm so happy I could do that. But girl, what's going on? GP313 said, girl, I was agreeing with you talking about the daughter in her sweatsuit. Just rolled out of bed for this interview. The whole world is watching. It just seemed very unprofessional. It really, really did. And when I saw the interview with Jimmy Kimmel, I was like, okay, because this is in his wheelhouse. He doesn't do this. So it made sense to me. Give Me Shelter said, it may be selfish, but it's human. Nikki.Star, but the introspection is powerful. Either introspection you no longer have to be apologetic, especially if you don't repeat the same actions and interactions. Oh, absolutely. I'm very blessed that I was doing that mess before my brain was fully developed, right? It's one thing to just be like a kid doing stuff, not having any wisdom or experiences. It's another thing to be 40 years old, 40 plus, playing these games with people's life and acting like you are the victim. I'm telling you, guys, it's going to happen. He is, because right now, since he's starting to talk, he's going to throw everything at the wall. And the one thing that he is going to rest on that will work for him is the fact that he wanted kids and Ariana didn't. I'm telling you, the tides is going to change for him when he starts using that against her. It will work. It will work, because the way this world punishes women for not wanting children, child. Spissy said, this is the year of the side chicks. King Charles and Camilla. Camilla is about to be the queen. Ain't that crazy? Ain't that crazy? Gatsby said, Raquel is a groupie. There will always be a more famous man that comes along. She was James's groupie too before they got together, when I was also seeing when he was also seeing someone else. Yeah, I think she's going to follow the fame. But I think she met her match in Sandoval. Tracy says, Star Family, please like the video. It helps the channel grow. We're looking to get to 1.25 million by the end of the year. It's almost summer. We can do it. We sure can. All right, fam. That's all I want to talk about with this show. Let me get out of here and prepare for my next live at 4. We are going to talk about all the other shows that I have not caught up, that I finally caught up on. We're going to talk about Brother Husband, 90 Day Fiance, Married at First Sight, and it was one other show on there. One other show. We'll talk about it then. And then I'll see you Friday for Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip. And what other show? Love to lock up later that evening. If I have time. We will see. But I'll see you if you want to come back. I'll see you at 4 for those shows. Love you so much. Thank you for stopping by. See you soon for something else. Bye. Mwah. Poor Ariana. But it's a